everybody, and welcome to The Art as Well. Before we start this morning, I want to give a quick shout out to Sheila Walsh. Sheila has an exhibition in the Limerick Museum currently. It opened on Thursday, and Sheila very wisely used our showcase facility to do a quick 30-second, in her case 30 seconds, you can do it up to 60 seconds, a 30-second sort of promo, if you like, for her exhibition. And in the 2 days leading up to it, from the time she did it, she had 1,273 precisely views between Instagram and YouTube, which is phenomenal. So I would urge you to spread the news, tell people about this. It is a free service, and it's there for artists to promote their work, or not their work as such, but anything that their event they're involved in, or an exhibition or something like that. The other two things I want to mention to you before we start is that we have two interesting episodes coming up that are sort of non-visual artists. One is a couple, husband and wife team, who are framers. He's a carver and his wife is a gilder. And between the two of them, they produce the most extraordinary frames, either renovated or reproduced to their original. And they've done work for, 13th century paintings up to the present day. Quite amazing work. And that's going to be of interest. Their work can be found in palaces and museums all around the world. So the two of them will be on, in fact, 2 weeks' time, they're going to be on. And the other thing I'd like to mention to you is an episode where we are going to have the Lord Mayor of Dublin talking to us from the Mansion House and going through some of the extraordinary treasures there are in that Mansion House. There are some amazing paintings, Joshua Reynolds, just wow stuff. And also there's a fabulous, on the return of the staircase, there's a beautiful Harry Clark stained glass window. So we'll get a sort of a privileged insight into every single aspect of the Mansion House. And just as a matter of interest, the Mansion House was built in 1710 by a property developer called Joshua Dawson, hence the name of the street, Dawson Street. And then it was bought by the government in 1715 and became the Mansion House as we know today. And I think also served as the venue for the first Dáil when we got independence. So that should be a really interesting thing. And it's with the Lord Mayor, who is Dahi de Rushta. And Dahi is an extraordinary man. He's a historian, and hence he loves talking about the work in the Mansion House. So I think you'll enjoy that. That's going to be in April. So let's get on to today and our guest, Wilma Vissers. And Wilma hails from the Netherlands. So let's zoom off straight over to the Netherlands and have a chat with her. Good morning to you, Wilma.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's a very sunny morning this morning here.
Very nice.
And the spring is coming. So it's all good, I guess.
Very good. Well, we had a lovely day yesterday, but I'm not so sure about today.
No, okay.
So tell us exactly where you are in the Netherlands.
Yeah, I'm in Groningen, and that's a student town with 60,000 students and 200,000 people in total. And it's in the north of the Netherlands, in the province of Groningen, and it's near the German border. It's next to Friesland. A lot of Irish people know Friesland from the Frisian cow. I always tell Irish people where Groningen is. It's near Friesland.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the origin of the Frisian, is it?
Yes, I think it is. But we have Frisian cows here in the whole. There are everywhere Frisian cows. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Wilma, we want to talk to you about residencies in particular.
Yeah.
But can we start by going back into your sort of early years and talk about your education and so on, where you were born, all that sort of thing?
Yeah. I was born in the opposite side of the Netherlands, in Heerlen, which is a town also very near to Maastricht. A lot of people know Maastricht. It's in the province of Limburg. And I was born in Heerlen, and it's an old mining town. So when I grew up, the mines closed. There was a lot of unemployment then. it's like a bit like the northern English region, with a lot of unemployment and the mining closing. And when I grew up, when I was very young, my father became very ill, and my mother, she couldn't cope with it very well, and so I stayed with a lot of people, which is quite normal being from a Catholic background, that you could eat with the neighbors. They just put a plate on the table and you just could eat with them.
Hmm.
But I had a very good friend and from primary school, Eve, and she lived on a farm, and her father was an artist. So at a very young age, I became aware from what art is and what it looks like. And he made paintings with religious things on it,
Hmm.
like Adam and Eve in paradise, but then painted in a very cubistic way.
All right.
So, and I really loved it. I was so much impressed by those paintings. I think I was 7 or 8 years old, and we went to play in his studio, which wasn't quite allowed, but we did anyway.
Mhm.
And there was always a skull of a German soldier in the back, which this father of Eve found in the garden. That German soldier at the end of the Second World War, and he buried it, and he
Mhm.
dug up the head later. So also I was very much inspired by those gruesome details as well.
Yes.
It was quite an artistic family. Her brothers were all obsessed by the Second World War, and we did kind of rough games in the woods, walking a lot and playing. And so it was a very free atmosphere there, and I think that was also very important. Why I have become an artist,
Okay.
and I think
Yes.
that every child should see art in such a young age. That's always good.
Absolutely. So
Yeah,
did you go to college then and study
yeah,
art?
yeah. Then I went to first before going to college. I wanted to go somewhere, and the bus going to India had just stopped. But I hitchhiked together with a friend to Egypt, which is quite something to think about now,
Hmm.
because you wouldn't think about those things, that it can be dangerous as well. You
Yes.
just did it. So we hitchhiked to Greece, and there we had to wait for the bus or for the boat to Egypt. And we stayed 2 months there, all the way down to the Nile with the train, uh, which took many days to get to Aswan, where the Aswan Dam is,
Yes.
and very beautiful islands along the Nile. And then after 2 months, we decided to have to go back. And then after that, I went back to Heerlen, where I lived then, but I wanted to study art in an art academy, because art academies are a higher education in Holland. It's
Mhm.
not part of the university. But first, I went to the Free Academy in The Hague, and that's something you do before you go to an art academy. And there you can practice everything there is, from film, photography, lithography, drawing, painting, ceramics, everything.
Mm.
And it's very good to develop all those things as well, to know what you want to do.
Mm.
And I was there for 2 years, and then I got admitted to an art academy in Den Bosch. And that's an art academy in the middle of Den Bosch is a city in the middle of the Netherlands. It's just very near to Utrecht. And I did printmaking there for a year. And I didn't like it at all. I didn't like the town. I found it so small and not very nice. And I didn't like the printmaking that much. I liked the making, but I wanted to do painting and drawing as well. And the teachers that I had then they were saying to me, you have to do printmaking first for a few years, and then you can develop printing and drawing as well. And I totally didn't agree with that.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
left, and I did an application for Art Academy in Groningen, which I liked very much as a city, and I wanted to live there. And I was admitted in the second year. And there I did printmaking, but painting and drawing as well. And it was very important that there I had a teacher who was saying to me, you shouldn't do painting, but because painting has been declared dead. Like the death of
That's
the
fairly
novel,
radical.
the death of painting, the death of poetry. And so I was very much inspired by that idea that such a thing could be dead, which I didn't agree at all. But I also thought, oh, painting is dead, so it has to start anew. It has to start on a new way. And so from that time also, and it's still important, very, very important now for me, that I wanted to do something with painting without the classical means.
Yes.
Like using the canvas and the frames, but I wanted to use things more in an experimental way. And I have been developing that already for many years, and it's going further and further and further. And now I'm also quite in between painting and sculpture. I make sculptural pieces which derive from painting, from the history of painting, but I also draw, and I make artist books, and I make prints. So I still make prints, and I'm now in an exhibition with two of those teachers from Den Bosch, which is very funny in a way as well. Yeah. So
tell us about books now. When you mentioned books, what exactly do you mean by that?
Artist books. I learned that to make an artist book is an idea or a concept which you have, and then you perform that in a book, mostly done by hand, like you have several stitches to use, or the technique is very important. So that's also.
Yeah. Are these made? Sorry for interrupting you, Wilma. Are these made as sketchbooks, or are
No,
they
they're not
a work
sketchbooks.
in themselves?
No. It's for example, I have made a book about a whale skull, which I saw in Donegal during my first residency, and that whole book is based on the shape of the whale skull. And we're going to see a photo later of that. So it's an idea or a concept, like you have an idea or a concept for an artwork, but then it has the book shape.
Gotcha.
It is also like a little film, because you see the first page, and then you see the second page, and everything you see is important. Yeah.
I understand. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, at what point you got married to Robert?
Yeah.
What stage was that?
Yeah, I think I was just 25 or so.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because then after art school, we went cycling in Ireland quite a lot, with everything on our bicycles, with the tent and things to cook. And we cycled. First we did the Ring of Kerry, and then we went to Cork, and then we cycled from Cork to Limerick, and then we cycled in the middle of Ireland, and then we cycled into Connemara, and then we cycled in Donegal, and then we cycled in Northern Ireland. And the difference between Ireland and Netherlands is because Ireland is empty and Holland is full, and with people and traffic, and especially in that time, at the beginning of the 90s, there wasn't so much traffic in Ireland, so you could cycle very well.
Yeah, yeah.
Roads
So the
weren't.
population of the Netherlands is 17 million, isn't that
Yeah,
right?
17 million.
And
Yeah,
and
yeah.
area-wise, would it be much the same as Ireland, or would it be slightly
No,
bigger?
it's quite flat.
Yeah,
Only in the south of the Netherlands you have a few hills. Where I'm from, there you have hills, beautiful landscape.
yeah.
But the rest, or the east, is also a bit hilly with woods. But it's not. You cannot compare it with Ireland. And
Mm.
also, it's like here, when something is old, it's been cleared away. And so in Ireland, you have this strange mixture of history and daily life. Like you see the ruins and you see all the things that happened before.
Mm.
And also the people speak about Napoleon invading Ireland. He didn't, of course, but he wanted to, like it's been yesterday. So the things that we don't have that in Holland.
Yes.
People speak a lot about the Second World War, but just before that, it doesn't seem to exist.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think also it has something to do with Second World War, because it's so much shock that all the history before that, all the oral history has been forgotten.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your immense travels throughout Ireland probably leads you in a position where you know Ireland better than most Irish people.
Yeah, I think I know it quite well. Yes. It's also nice being on a bicycle makes you connect with the land so much more than in a car, because you're very slow traveling, and
Yes.
even more when you walk. What I do now more and walk more.
Mm.
I quit bicycling because I found it too busy in Ireland as well.
Yeah.
And I like walking now more.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
let's talk about residencies and why they're so appealing to you and why they're important. Never mind
yeah,
appealing.
yeah. I have this strong urge just to step out of my bubble here in the Netherlands. Of course, I know a lot of artists here as well, and I know what they're doing. And but it's also nice just to go outside your bubble and in a totally strange country, or not that strange,
Yeah.
but it's different than when you are on holiday,
Mm.
because then you are more having leisure time. While when you are in a residency, you're working quite hard, and everything which you're doing in your normal life, like you have to do shopping, you have to do this, you have to teach or whatever. That's always that disappears. So you get a very strong focal point of attention, and you make huge steps
Mm.
in your development in a few weeks.
Yes.
And also, it makes you realize a lot. Also, always that you are your roots. Like you start think about what your roots are like.
Mm.
Because you see all kind of people that are different, so you get confronted with who you are
Yeah.
and what you want. So
Mm.
and I find that also a very inspiring thing. And sometimes it's also difficult, because you are on your own, and if there's a situation about something, you have to solve it all on your own,
Yeah.
and you're not at home, so you're a bit out of your comfort zone.
Mm. Oh, totally. I mean, what's interesting about that, and only 2 days ago, I listened to somebody talk about um, being alone. I mean, the whole idea of solitary. And there was a study done by a number of students, or with a number of students, I mean, several hundred, where they brought them into a room on their own, and they gave them a little shock just to show that it was bearable, but still quite painful.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
nice. Okay. And then they said, right, we're going to leave you here alone for as long as you can.
Okay.
And something like 80 to 90% of the people didn't last more than half an hour
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
before,
yeah, yeah.
before they actually gave themselves a
Oh,
shock
yeah,
in
yeah,
order
yeah.
to get out.
Oh, yeah, 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 yes.
Yeah, you
Okay.
probably heard about that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so it's something that people who haven't experienced it may not fully appreciate what it is to be
Yeah.
solitary like that.
Yes, but sometimes it gets mixed up with being on holiday. So I really have to explain that residency is a period when there is very much work to be done in a very short time. Because sometimes it's only 14 days, like in Heinrich Böll Cottage, or at Kirwelig, it's mostly 10 days.
Yeah.
I did a residency in Northern Ireland, a project called Artsland. That was 3 months. So the different time as well.
Yes, yes. So what do you experience from that? What comes to your work as a result of being on these residencies?
I'm a minimalistic artist, inspired by the minimalistic tradition, but also I'm inspired by nature as well. So I see shapes in nature, hills or a valley or things like that, and those shapes stay with me, and they inspire me when I'm at home.
Yeah.
So it's even like an abstract minimalist artist, which I am, is being in nature very important for me.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
also these kind of nature, because I like the Northern European countrysides. You can see the horizon much more than here in the Netherlands. You can never see the horizon. It's all totally filled up with buildings and other things.
Okay. Yeah. No, interesting. Just on a subject we were talking about earlier, Marianne came back and said Netherlands is a third the size of Ireland. I knew it was a little smaller, all right. So when you think about that and 17 million people in an
Yeah,
island or in an area,
yeah,
a
but
third the size.
the north is relatively less populated than the rest of the Netherlands. In the 3 northern provinces, there are 1.2 million people.
Okay.
Most of the people in the Netherlands live in the area Amsterdam, The Hague, Rotterdam, and Utrecht. That circle of places.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So we were talking about your work and what inspires it. We're going to have a look at that now. But before that, I want to look at your studio. Now, your studio is not where you are at the moment.
No, I'm at home.
You're at home, but the studio doesn't have good internet. So
No internet at
you
all.
did a little film. So I'm going to show that now, Wilma. And if you could talk through it and tell us what we're looking at.
Yeah, this is the hallway of my studio. It's in an old French girls' convent, which was built in 1889. And then there have been several schools in it. It has been artist studios from about 40 years ago. I'm already here 25 years. It's in a building with 17 other artists. This room used to be, I always thought, the teacher's room, but somebody told me it's the geography room. So the left side of the studio, which I'm showing now, is reserved for my painterly objects. Here I do a big installation on the wall, which they all work together. These are pieces on the table. This is my etching press, also very important, very good to have. And this part of my studio is reserved for the drawing. To have these drawings are made, some of them at the stay of Heinrich Böll, some of them on Faroe Isles. These are some prints as well, which I frame. And this is the floor with remnants of old paint. So it's a very good space. Very hot in summer and very cold in winter.
Okay, and you're surrounded by another handful of artists as well.
Yeah.
And is there a social side to that?
Yeah, once a year we do an open studio, which is good. And sometimes we also meet on different occasions. That's also good to be in a studio place with other artists as well. It's better than being at home on your own, I always find.
Yes, absolutely. And is it a big difference between, being in a residency and doing work and being in your studio?
Yes, it's different because in the studio you are working there and then going home and doing your things there. But in an artist residency, you're in between your work 24 hours. So you wake up with your pajamas on, and the first thing you do is going to work.
Yeah.
and then making some breakfast. But the thing is, that makes it much more intense than in studio.
Mm,
Because you're so much surrounded by your work and by your thoughts about your work and what you want to do.
yeah. So really, when you're on residency, you're absolutely not at home. Whereas
No.
in your studio, you know that there are so many things at home to
Yeah,
be done
yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. You have it in your head. Oh, I have to go to this and that, and I have to this and that, and later this will happen, and somebody calls, and yeah, you know how it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. We look at some of your work now, and you can talk us through that.
Okay, this Christmas break, I've looked at all my old work. I sometimes do that. And this is a painting about 20 years old. And it's a combination of two paintings. Because then I thought, why can't I use several paintings in one? So I cut the middle round out of another painting, and I stuck this on this canvas,
Mhm.
which is also combination then. Okay, you can, yeah. This is a big branch of 15 centimeters, and I found this in the woods, and I cut it in 4 pieces because I had the need to open it up and look what is inside this wooden thing, and to show the inside to the world. I had to turn it around. So this is the inside which you see with the oil paint on it, and I glued it together in this shape.
Yes. Yes. So all of this, all of your work seems to have a sort of spatial
Yeah,
interest
spatial dimension, yes.
dimension to it. Exactly. That's
Yeah,
a better
yeah.
put than
Even
yes.
the older
Absolutely.
works, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So you can see. Yeah, this is a friend of mine. A lot of people give me a lot of materials where I can make something with. And these are 2 pieces of banister, which you have alongside the stairs. And I glue them together. And I put some oil crayon on it. And I like it to make something very long and thin during that years, because it gives a good connection with the surroundings. It makes you look at the wall very much, and you see the object. It's an object, of course, but you can see the space around it as well very much.
Yeah.
So it functions as a object in space.
And the
It
space is as important as the object.
Yeah, space is important as the object, yeah. So
Okay.
this is also very special with what I did about 15 years ago. This is a big piece of sanding paper, and I glued that to a piece of wood, and then I burned it off. First I put paint on it, and then I burned it off with a hot soldering iron. And so this is a different process than putting paint on or something on wood or canvas or whatever. But I peeled it off, so that's different as well. I did that also and
Hmm.
also quite a big piece as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I ask you, Wilma, the fact that your teacher in college told you that, traditional painting on canvas is dead, that obviously had quite an impact on you,
Yeah,
because
that quite an
you seem to
impact.
be averse to to using canvas at all.
Yeah, I did, but like in the first image, that's a canvas.
Hmm.
Sometimes the canvas reappears, but then cut loose.
Okay.
So not on
Yes.
a frame. Okay.
All right.
Okay, this is inspired by an exhibition in Estonia. I was having an exhibition in 2011 in an art center in Rapla, and it's a little town near Tallinn, which is the capital of Estonia. I was asked by the curator to do that, and she gave me pieces of newspaper which had such a strange orange color. And of course, I couldn't read the letters because it was in a different language.
Mhm.
And the shape derives from I made a drawing in a book for every day drawing, every day in a book for many, many years. So I tried out in a drawing what kind of shape I could use. So I stuck this newspaper on a piece of styrofoam with a glue side, and then I cut this in this shape.
Yes. And you don't have titles for your work, Wilma, do you?
No, I don't think it's not suitable to have a title. If it's not clear this and this should have a title, I
Mhm.
think you shouldn't do it, because you invent something to make it easier for the viewer, but at the other side is that you block the ideas of the viewer of your work, because you're putting a word on it
Yeah,
which isn't totally true.
I understand. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's
You
a
should
good
only
point.
do it when it's very obvious, and it should have a title.
Yeah, okay. And in a sense, isn't that the difference between figurative and abstract?
Yeah, yeah, it could be, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. This is my studio. This is the ongoing project I have on the wall. So all the pieces that I made, they are in a big installation together, and they are having a conversation also with each other. If I take one piece off, then the constellation or the installation changes. And I have just recently heard that in Chinese landscape philosophy, this is called the poetic space. So it's the space in between the works which you see. And in Western world, we don't have this kind of thing. We have this idea of Kant, the philosopher, that a thing is a thing, and that's it. And the thing is isolated um, on itself and not in its surroundings. And I
Yes.
think this idea of poetic space appeals to me so much, because that's I've been working to make all the pieces go together.
Hmm. But yet, I think you were mentioning to me that they can be not so much seen separately, but they don't need to include all of the works there. For instance, if
No,
you're in
no,
a smaller area,
yeah,
you could
yeah.
choose pieces and recreate.
Yeah, recreate.
Yeah.
Yeah, because these walls are 5 meters high,
Hmm.
so that's very easy to do that. But like in the Limerick Museum, which I have an exhibition in April, it's a smaller space, so I make a smaller edition of this.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, this is at the house of Heinrich Böll on Eckl Island. Heinrich Böll was a very well-known German writer. He lived, he was born just before the Second World War, of many years before the Second World War, and he came to Ireland after the Second World War and bought a house for his family. He lived in Köln, and he didn't have much space at home, and yeah, he bought this house, and he stayed for many, many months in this cottage. And the memory of Heinrich Böll is also very much alive on Eckl Island. People tell about Heinrich Böll like he came to visit yesterday.
Yes.
So he won the Nobel Prize of Literature I think in 1972. And then the money was put into a foundation. And when he died in the 80s, this house still exists, and it's a foundation, and you can apply to do a residency there, which I did twice already, and quite hard because a lot of people are always applying there.
But
So
they're
it's,
writers primarily, aren't they?
yeah, writers primarily, but 40% are artists. And that time when I went to visit it, the last time, Ireland had just opened up because of COVID. I think it was open for 2 weeks. And I was the first one to go into the cottage because it had been renovated totally.
Mm.
And this is they called it the studio space, or the artist room, which
Yes.
is a very high space. And what I did a lot was walking and in the hills, and there's several paths. And I came in the cottage again, and inspired by that, I make these drawings. They're
Mhm.
quite big. They are 1 meter by 80 centimeters.
Yes. And is there there's something written on top? Is that
Yeah,
isn't a
yeah.
title by any chance,
Because
is it?
I was in between. There's no internet in
Mhm.
the cottage. It's very big. 2 cottages with a little hallway in between. You have 3 studios and 2 bedrooms and a big living room, and all totally filled with books. So I was sitting by the fireside in the evening and reading and reading and reading. And I had the strange feeling that the books were whispering to me, saying words. So I thought, why don't I try to begin a drawing and write a word on it? So the left one is sea,
Tea. Yeah.
and the right one is wind.
Yep.
So the elements which were there were also very important at that stage.
Okay.
This is 3 drawings I made on Faroe Isles. The Faroe Isles are an island group in between Shetland and Iceland. I was there in 2022 for about quite long, 6 weeks, in a school in a town called Tjørnuvik. The people there pronounce it Tjørnuvik, they say.
Mhm.
And it's a little town with maybe 30 people in it, and only 3 people spoke English. The priest, there was a sailor who went to Rotterdam, he spoke English, and there was a policeman living next to me, which was very safe, uh,
Mm.
and he spoke English as well.
Yes.
But
Yes.
nothing happens on the Faroe Isles. All the people's houses are open, and
Yeah.
you just can go in if you like. They don't even expect you to knock, which I found peculiar. But
Yes.
it's a very nice group of isles, which isn't very well known to a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I came in contact with an English writer, Tim Eckert, and he wrote a book about it.
Mhm.
And he gave me a lot of contacts as well, and I went walking a lot and drawing a lot. So it was very good. And at the end, I was snowed in. Then
Mhm.
Robert came to visit me, and we were snowed in together, which I absolutely wanted to see the winter again, because I miss winter so much here. There's no snow and ice because of the heating climate.
Yes.
And I think it was in the end of March, and we were snowed in, and really very big meters of snow.
All right. We have
Yeah,
some photographs later on of
yeah,
the residencies.
yeah,
Some,
yeah,
yeah, some of them.
yeah. So
To
this is
put that your point in perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, this was a work inspired by COVID, because then we had this period, we couldn't go anywhere. And I have this old atlas, which I used to look into quite often and imagine where I could go next. But then I couldn't go anywhere. So first I thought, I can use this to make a drawing in, because it has a history as well. This drawing paper, of this atlas paper.
Mhm.
It was an old atlas from Wolters Noordhof. That's a very well-known education public house. And you could take the maps out very easily. So you could draw on them, and I also made prints on them. And very recently, I now have an exhibition with a few of them. So
Mhm.
that was also inspired by that special period.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and this is a work, it's a cast of watercolor box, because after that period of making drawings on maps, I thought I became very much interested in my very near surroundings, and I was thinking, what does the artist need? And I have to create something which is in this space. So I was inspired by the things I work with.
Yeah.
Like this is an aquarelle watercolor box, And if you look closely, you see still the little things where the paint used to be.
Yeah, around here. Yeah.
Paper mache in it, and it has to dry quite very long. This is small work. Sometimes I just take it home to put it in the oven, and and
Mhm.
and then it dries, and it has
Yeah.
egg tempera on it. And what's
Okay.
also very interesting to me is that they are on the frontier of when is something abstract and when is something figurative. Because this is figurative. This is a box, a watercolor box.
Yeah.
So this crosses the line between abstract and figurative for me, which I
Yeah.
also find interesting.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is quite a big piece. It's a stretcher frame. I made a cast of paper mache as well. What I did, I have a big wooden crate to transport art in, and I had this stretcher frame which you use to put canvas on, and I put that into the crate, and
Mhm.
I have some paper mache bags. I think like I used 5 of those bags. It took immensely so much material to 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 put it all under this material, and it
Mm.
had to dry. I think it took 3 months to dry. It was also very easy to very hard to get it out.
Yes.
And then I put some egg tempera as well. It's also quite something new for me using egg tempera, but I love the colors. They're so very much so bright,
Mm.
and such an easy paint to make with the crushing of the egg and a bit of water and the pigments, and all the pigments are also quite different. They dissolve different, they have a different aspect as well.
All right.
Yeah. So
Probably dry differently, do they?
yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes the colors also. So I work as a curator sometimes,
Mm.
quite often now as well. That all started about 10 years ago. A German artist, she gave me, that I know from Facebook, she emailed me. She had a project called the Manic Radicals Visit. And so that was my first curator project. She gave me an exhibition of international artists. I came to pick it up. I was in Berlin, and we drove past her house in Hamburg, and we took all the work with us.
Mhm.
And there was a spare shop somewhere, and I made my first curator exhibition, and I've had a lot of attention from the newspaper and so on. But this is the drawing box.
Yeah, this is a very interesting concept.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the drawing box. It's made by, it's invented by Diane Henshaw from Northern Ireland. She lives in Tempo in Fermanagh. And during COVID, she wanted to help other artists, so she made a cardboard box and asked a lot of artists to give 5 A5 drawings, and it started with 50 artists, and the first exhibition with all those drawings was at her studio. And then this box went to travel. So it went to travel to India, and there was an artist living there, and she had the access to a gallery and made an exhibition with it. And then it came to Groningen, the drawing box.
But sorry,
And then,
Wilma, the artists are adding to it all the time, aren't they?
yeah, they're adding to it all the time, because sometimes work is sold, and then I'll send a message to that person,
Yeah.
send me a new drawing.
Yeah.
So this was at my studio during COVID,
Mm.
because I made the installation. I just stuck all the drawings to the wall with some kind of material,
Mhm.
and I had so many drawings. I think I had 400 drawings,
How
but
many?
then 400 drawings.
400. Yes, yes,
But
yes.
then the third lockdown in the Netherlands happened in 2 days when the exhibition was on, and you had to make an appointment with me to visit the exhibition.
Mm.
But every cultural venue closed during that time, but I decided to stay open. because I had all my agenda booked full with appointments of people who wanted to come and visit this exhibition.
Mm.
And so I've had very good reactions to it, and I had a big review in the newspaper.
Mhm.
And then after that, it went to Scotland. And then after that, it went to San Francisco. But then it got very expensive to send all those drawings in that box.
Yes.
And so it's been donated to Nival or Nival. How do you pronounce that? In
Probably Nival or
Nival in
yeah.
Dublin.
Yeah.
And they are going to make an exhibition with it. And it's all part of a Facebook group called the Drawing Box. And we started making films for each other. So
Mhm.
some of the films are shown. I'm not sure if they're on their websites, but they're going to do something with it.
Okay. Now, Nival or Nival, whatever it is, I'm not familiar with, but I believe it's part of NCAD.
Yeah, it's inside the NCAD.
Yes, so it's like the library of.
Library, it's an archive which collects works of Irish artists, but also
Yes.
from other artists, because there are a lot of different nationalities in this.
Yeah. But what a very interesting concept.
Yeah.
At a time that
Yeah.
would have embraced something like that.
Yeah. It went on for years and years. I think
Yeah.
it took maybe 2 or 3 years. Now it
Yeah.
recently stopped.
Okay, well now it's archived in
It's
NCAD.
archived. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Right,
now
this is the
also,
last piece now.
yeah. Now also I have my own exhibition space. It's called the Portiersloge or the Gatekeeper's Lodge.
Mhm.
And that has been created about 15 years ago in a studio building in Groningen. And it's the front place of the studio building, and it's just been shut off because it was a gatekeeper's lodge
Hmm.
of a school. So it's very small, but it's very high, and you can only see it from the window outside. So it's people from the street, they see it walking
Yes.
by.
Yeah,
So, and it's the size of a one person's bed.
I see. Okay.
And this is the work of André Geertse from Tilburg. And he had the second exhibition during my curatorship of the Gatekeeper's Lodge.
Yeah.
The first one came from Turkey. His name was Erdem Küçügoğlu. Maybe I don't pronounce the name very good, but he helped me making a website, and he helped me with the design of the exhibition, which is also, so I'm going to do all kind of different things in that, and it's mainly for artists from Groningen.
Yeah.
But
Very
I
good.
have some international connections with it too, because the next exhibition will be from a photographer from New Mexico, Alexandra Huddleston, and she's the next one. So I started this, and I got so much response. I could fill this space for 3 years, which I
Really?
don't do because I want to be open to new developments of all. It's full for a year, and then I think after the summer I will look at the program again for the next year.
Yeah. Right. These are some photos now of your residencies. So if you
Yeah.
could talk us through these.
Yeah. The left one is in a town called Klaksvik, and that's for Faroese things. Faroese, they call this big town,
Okay.
but it's not really that. It's not really that big.
Sure.
It has a kind of shape of mountains. I recognize it from everywhere. This typical Klaksvik mountain. And I showed this image to a friend from the United States, and she comes to Denmark a lot, and she tells me in the Norwegian and Danish language, they have a word for this. They call this stark, which means, I think, a place for rough beauty.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Okay.
the photo on the right hand in the corner, that's an artwork. It's a bit difficult to see, but there was a big stone, and they put a stone bird on it, which I found so fascinating.
Yes.
because there was also quite a lot of public art in the Faroe Isles as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then the one at the bottom?
And the one at the bottom, that's the school where I was staying in the classroom of the children. Because it used to be a school, the whole town had been to that school. And so the maps which was used being at school were still hanging in the classroom, which I found it very inspiring as well.
Yes.
And there
Yes.
were a lot of books, all in Faroese language, but there was one in English and in Faroese. So I taught myself one sentence to speak to. I went to church there to listen to the sermons, the service.
Mm-hmm.
I really loved the Faroese language. And after that, we had tea and coffee. And so I could say once a sentence, which I have forgotten now already.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Wilma Vissers. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm an artist. And
That's all you need to say.
Hmm?
That's all you need to say.
Yeah, they all, and then they said, Hollandigoer, they said, and that means Dutch person. So they
Yes.
already, because it was such a small town,
Yeah.
they already knew me and had me seen me walking around, which I did a lot. So
Yeah.
it was such a nice place.
Lovely.
Yeah. This is maybe very well known to Irish people. I did a residency in 2009, my first one, in a place called Clo or Clo Cartlan. It's an Irish-speaking residency, and it's a big print studio, which was founded by Ian Joyce and Una Highland, I think. Not sure if the surname is Highland. I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the railway station, which there used to be railway from
Yes.
somewhere to Northern Ireland. And
Okay.
that has also been in a film with Donald Sutherland. I think the Railway Man.
Really?
But
Yeah.
if you look closely, you can see the ramp where the train
You
used to
can?
go,
Yes. Yeah.
and you could make walks there over that empty railway talut, we call that in Dutch. I don't know the word for that in English,
Okay.
but the rails had been taken away. It was quite muddy and wet as well. You couldn't walk the whole stretch. You couldn't do that. But I found that also very inspiring. All the things you still could see from the railway.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And did they create a walkway from that?
No, I didn't. They should do that, but
They
they
should,
didn't.
yeah.
I hope they go
Maybe
to.
they will. Well, they're
Yeah.
obviously renovating the station house there,
Yeah,
aren't they?
they have renovating that, and you can rent that for an Airbnb or something like that.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah. Also, this is the Mummers Museum, and I was doing a residency in 2019, just before COVID. I made an artist books library together with children and all other kind of people, filled with images from the countryside. I made a plan for that, and that plan was chosen. And I stayed in Derry Lynn for 3 months in the house of the artist. And this is the museum, and it was next to the Mummers Museum and there's also a piece of mine hanging, a piece
Mm-hmm.
made of Hessian cloth. It's next to the Mummers Museum, and I had a key, so I could enter the museum anytime I liked. And for people that don't know what a mummer is, that's a straw doll to do kind of dances with to go along the houses. Here in Groningen, we have Sint Maarten. That's quite similar, I guess.
Yes.
At
Yes.
the end of the year, with Christmas time, and they have this strange straw hats on and straw costumes, and they go knocking on doors. You have those kind of same tradition in Iceland as well,
Mm-hmm.
and doing songs and drinking and dancing, and you have to guess who is under the straw hats.
All right.
And
Yeah.
what happens then, I don't know. But
Okay.
and
Yeah.
yeah, they had sometimes they walked with all the dolls and things they had on, but they didn't do that for many years because the farmers around didn't like that the people walked on their lands.
All right. Yeah. 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 Okay.
Yeah, so this is Iceland. I did a project concerning the artist books in 2018 in Skaftvel, and that's an art center in Seyðisfjörður in the east of Iceland, founded by Dieter Roth, and that's a very well-known German artist as well, who lived on Iceland. And it was in an old fish factory, and it was 3 weeks, and the main topic was the artist book, what the artist book can do, what it looks like, what shape it can have. And it was together with 7 international artists. 2 were from Australia, 1 was from Canada, 2 were from the Netherlands, 1 was from England, and 1 was from France. And we were divided in 3 houses.
One of which is on the right-hand side there.
No, that is something else. I'll tell
it
later. So we had meetings in the evening, and during the daytime we worked in the Tech Mus, and that's a technical museum in Seyðisfjörður, with all kind of agriculture, old machines, and also old printing machines. I did lithography there, and they did all kind of different things. Very recently, there has been a big mud flood in Seyðisfjörður, and so this museum has been destroyed, I've heard.
Oh, no. And tell us about the building on the bottom right-hand side.
That's I think it's a waymark somewhere, and that is Robert standing in front of that little beautiful red house, because I also like it to make a photo of this immense landscape and having someone in it, because then you can see the scale of it.
Yes.
So I think it's just the way to point out to people you are here. And I wasn't exactly sure what it was, but I found it very striking.
Well, I've misled everybody because I assumed that was one of your residencies.
No.
And I put it up on Instagram and said,
could you? Very good, yes.
All right.
Oh yeah, this is on Ankle Island. This is a walkway, I think also near the deserted village, which is very well known on Ankle Island. And I just made lovely walks there. And this is also very interesting. This is Kilwelig. And I liked the shape, the color of this strange wall. And we were speaking to each other, us 6 living in the cottages. I knew a woman who did a residency in Kilwelig before, and she lives in Groningen as well. And she told me there's an opera singer living in that house. And then we were celebrating International Women's Day at the 8th of March.
March, yeah.
And we wanted to invite her as well. So we put a note on her house, but I think she wasn't there. Yeah, which was sad. Some other lady, she came from Poland, but she lived in Dublin. She knew her as well. She knew that she was a singer.
All right, okay. Well, hopefully she can see this now.
Yeah.
And recognize herself.
Yeah, recognize herself.
Okay, now before we go to Q&A, I want you to talk about 3 artists that have had an influence on you.
Yeah.
Starting with Richard Tuttle, this one here.
Yeah, Richard Tuttle is an American minimalist, but he is not like the very straight-edged minimalist like Donald Judd. Maybe you know Donald Judd. He is also quite playful in his way. He depicts, he uses materials, which also kind of installation way. And have been mad for his work for many, many, many years. He also has this little string. And then people who are skeptic about art would say, is that an art? Is that an artwork?
Yes.
But that little string has such a strong, how do you say it? It's such a strong appearance, that little string. I can't explain it. That is also very... strange, but I haven't seen his work very much in real, but I've went to did a big thing in the Tate about maybe now 8-9 years ago already, and then he also had a big exhibition in a museum somewhere. I can't come up with the name at the moment.
Okay, not to worry. And the next one.
This is Blinky Palermo. that's a German writer, a German painter who died very young. I think he was 27 or 28. Was very well known in Germany. His name, Blinky Palermo, comes from a boxer from Italy, I guess. And I loved his work also quite often, and it's also kind of sculptural as well, because it's also so mysterious, because he didn't develop after that. We only have his begin work because then he died.
I see. Okay.
And this is Agnes Martin, very well-known American painter living in near Santa Fe. I think she died in the 80s or the 90s. And I always like, she is a painter. I always like the, how do you say that? I just can't come up with the name, the spiritual qualities of her work.
Okay. Yes.
They seem very abstract, but if you look closely at them, you can also recognize certain things in it. Yeah, and yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, that's great. Thanks for that. There's a couple of messages here I can read through. Desmond, does the shape of your paintings inform the color, or does color inform the shapes?
Yeah, it's quite at the same time. It's a moment in my head which happens at the same time. The shape and then the color at the same time. So it cannot be seen loose from each other.
Okay. And Des also says, I can see a connection with the poetic use of abject materials by Richard Tuttle.
Yes, Richard Tuttle, yes.
Okay. Pauline Flynn says, really interesting ideas. iPhone, Maria Gabriella from Italy on her phone says, Wilma, your art is very interesting. You are right not to give a name to an artistic creation, so the viewer can let his or her imagination fly and have a personal interpretation of the piece.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah, sums it up.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maria. Pauline, beautiful piece, watercolor box. Yes, it's a great idea. That was really a great idea, the box idea. Stephanie, I was thrilled to be part of the drawing box exhibition during COVID. What a great idea it was. Ah, right. So Stephanie was part of that.
Yeah, I recognize your name. Yeah.
Yeah. Eilish, many thanks, Wilma and Alan. David says, thanks, Wilma and Alan, and he has to leave. Okay, no problem. And Leslie says, as a fellow admirer of Agnes Martin, who died in 2004, I would wholly recommend a biography by Henry Martin, no relation, but an Irish writer, and has written a fascinating and beautiful biography. Were you aware of that?
No, I don't know that. That's interesting.
Well, there's something for you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Leslie, for that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, I'm going to unmute everybody, and if anyone would like to make a comment, please do so. Morris.
Yeah, hi, Wilma. And Alan, very much looking forward to you coming here to.
Great. Yes, I also.
Yeah, fascinating. What you call it? Just listening to you to talk about the work. I can't seem to get my video up. There it is.
Very well. Yeah.
I just noticed that your work is very pared down, very minimal. It's exactly what it is. The residencies you go to seem to be exactly the same place. Very, very sparse. Is there a reason you pick the residencies and the places you pick, or
I wouldn't go to a residency in the middle of New York. I love New York. I've been there a few years ago, but I wouldn't be able to do anything, I guess. It's maybe my fantasy and imagination gets turned on in such a landscape.
Okay, gotcha.
It's emptiness.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, I know you don't like to give titles to your work, and you want people to, I suppose, bring what they're bringing, their history, experiences, and backwards and forwards. But just in terms of, say, the Limerick Museum, where you're going to be showing, it's essentially a social history museum where it talks about the history and the life of Limerick over the last few thousand years. Just in terms of the audience who would be looking at your work, how would you like them to approach it?
Maybe in a childlike way, be open to it and just look at it, and because I was also very much making those pieces inspired by the things I'd seen in the Limerick Museum, because they're
Yeah.
objects as well. I tried
Absolutely.
to make a connection between those two.
Okay, great. Yeah. Well, and Missy, congratulations on your talk. It's a fabulous talk, and very much looking forward to seeing you here in Limerick very
Okay,
soon.
good. Yeah.
And I'll be in touch during the week or so.
Yeah,
Take
that's
care
good.
now.
Okay. Hear
Thank you.
from you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Alan.
Thank you, Morris. Thank you. No, okay. Listen, we leave it there. Thank you so much, Wilma.
Okay.
There you are.
Yeah.
Wilma, thank you so much. That was tremendous and
Yeah,
very
thank you.
informative and a very interesting practice. And I just love the way you've sort of meshed in the whole residency and the importance of that.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be an inspiration for a lot of people.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who I know have done residencies, but I've never really inquired from them exactly why they do them and what they get out.
Yeah.
I know it's extremely solitary,
Yeah.
and but that in a sense is a very good thing because it brings out an inner part of an artist, I think, that really you're not going to experience in New York, are you?
No.
Exactly. All right. Listen, thanks again for that. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this morning. And I
Okay.
look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks when I mentioned about this couple who are involved in refurbishing and recreating fantastic frames for art. And that's going to be really interesting. Simon and Julie Cooper are their names, and they're going to be with us in 2 weeks. So until then, thanks all for joining us, and we'll see you then. Thanks again to you, Wilma.
Bye-bye.
Bye.